So it wasn't until after last week's review that I realized how I kept on saying the name Corlys instead of Corlys Velaryon. I apologize, it will not happen again. See? Character development right here. Welcome back once more, Game of Thrones fans, and thank you for clicking on my spoiler review for House of the Dragon Episode 3. Every week, right here, we're discussing spoilers for every single episode of the series, so I need you to go watch the episode before this video, but once you do, start the conversation with your thoughts on this episode, what you loved about it, what you didn't, and your theories moving forward. That cold open today, man, it gave me that sense of grand scoping action, immediately showing the effects of the alliance between Velaryon and Daemon. But ultimately, it's a scene that illustrates that Viserys was right in questioning how wise it was to go into battle with the ever-elusive crab feeder as his forces overwhelm Daemon even while he's on the back of Syrax. But the episode in general is also a nice change of pace. We have our first time jump in this series, at least I'm assuming it's the first of many. Viserys and Alicent's son Aegon is now 2 years old and the queen is expecting their second child. With this, we have Rhaenyra, who has grown more and more apart from her own father, continuing to cause friction within the Targaryen Dynasty as the princess sees herself worthless in the eyes of her father, her position as heir ever more in question. The two former friends are not even that close anymore, as Rhaenyra's pride is hurt with what she felt was betrayal from her best friend marrying her father. But throughout this episode, you see Alicent's genuine attempts at protecting Rhaenyra, her feelings, and even defending her position as heir, even from her father, the Hand of the King, who now seems to advise as a father first and a subject second. We even have that scene between father and daughter where Otto reinforces the notion of Aegon being the rightful heir, and Alicent genuinely is struggling to balance all these loyalties to her family, to her husband, to her best friend, or former best friend in this case. All these dynamics are so fresh, so new, we have to catch up to so much. It can feel jarring for some people. It's very understandable if it does, but for me, the jarringness of it, how sudden it feels, it just shows the impact of the choices these characters have made so far and how long the friction and conflict that is brewing between all these characters and the choices that made and all the consequences that come with it, how big the effect has been throughout these past 2 years. Before I continue with my review on this week's episode, I need you to start a conversation about it in the comments below. How do you rank the first 3 episodes thus far, and what was your favorite moment in this episode? Also, if you're enjoying this review and don't want to miss any of the weekly reviews we'll have here for this show, if you love movies and TV, this is the place to be, so consider clicking that subscribe button and you won't miss any of the future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. So now that we're done with catching up in that first stage of this episode, let's talk about the beautiful contrast between narrative and characterizations. On a plot level, the Royal Hunt is nothing but a lavish parade, pampering to Viserys' wounded pride as all the lords prancing around and presenting themselves as fitting candidates willing to marry Rhaenyra, which was Viserys' goal in this, only drive his daughter further away from him, which has the paranoia continuing to seep deeper into Viserys' mind as all the presents and kind words ring more and more true to Rhaenyra's accusations towards her father, the constant questioning about his choice in heritage and his inaction in helping Daemon and the Velaryons in this war against the crab feeder. This is an extreme contrast to the characterizations in this episode, namely Viserys, who really is stripped of that vestige of king from a writing standpoint. We just see a broken man with his wounded pride filled with regret and anguish, haunted by his choices and how they've affected him, but most importantly, his family. Even in that scene in front of the bonfire where he's drunk and basically confesses to his wife how much he regrets every decision that he's made so far in this show. It's such compelling character writing where he comes to this confrontation about himself and the choices he's made thus far, 3 episodes into this series. This is fantastic writing. And no amount of praise can do justice to Paddy Considine's performance in this episode, where he handles all the emotionality of this character with great nuance. It's spectacular to witness. This confrontation with himself builds and builds up until that confrontation with Rhaenyra in the council chamber, where a father desperately attempts to rescue the relationship he has with his daughter, who he has made feel worthless, and he now realizes that. A daughter who doesn't want to be pawned around, but rather choose. She wants the title, but she also wants the power, the responsibility, the independence that comes with that title. She wants to choose who she marries, much like he did in the last episode. The amount of character growth from one episode to the next, and we're just 3 episodes into this series, is fascinating. This is sublime storytelling from a character standpoint. And speaking of characters, big shout out to Sir Lyonel Strong, who each week is proving himself more and more the MVP of the series, and once more brings sound advice when Viserys is struggling with his decision making towards Rhaenyra's match, and we get the suggestion: Sir Laenor Velaryon, son of Corlys, who would not only keep the bloodline pure in the ways of the old Valyria, which the Targaryens are very into, but he would mend the bridges between Velaryons and Targaryens and unite both houses once more. So shout out to you, Sir Lyonel, that is sound advice. But characterization is not the only strong element in this episode. Symbolism is also quite strong and present here, as the narrative revolves around the search for the White Hart, which is considered king in the King's Wood. Thematically, the show is really revolving around who is worthy to sit on the throne. And as much as Viserys searches throughout this episode, as much as his forces search, the White Hart ends up only presenting itself to Rhaenyra when she's alone, when she has no desire for finding it. This to me spells doom for Viserys. I know there's a book for this show. I haven't read the book. I want to watch the show unspoiled. But to me, that's what this represents. I don't want to know if I'm right or wrong. That's just how I'm feeling right now. But my favorite moment in this episode comes at the end, where after a parting of wisdom from his lady wife, King Viserys finally extends a helping hand with his forces towards his brother and Corlys. And this is the breaking point for Daemon Targaryen. He attacks the messenger. His pride and stubbornness will not allow his brother's pity to win him this war. Daemon Targaryen takes off on his own with nothing but a sword, a hidden blade, and his cunning, intending on proving his merit as a warrior and as a ruler against the forces of the crab feeder on the battlefield. They overwhelm him, but he stands alone until the very last minute, when finally the Velaryon forces and the might of sea smoke with Sir Laenor on its back scorch the beach and their enemies, leading Daemon to victory as he drags the half-cut body of the crab feeder on to the beach. And that's where the episode ends. The battle is won, Daemon's pride is intact, his worth is proven, and respect has been earned, all without the help of his brother. This is a fantastic climax, not just because the action is sensation and it's grandiose in scope, but the characterization here is fantastic. Daemon Targaryen continues to be one of the most complex and fascinatingly flawed characters in this show, or in any current television series, really. I am loving what this show is doing with its characters. The world building is ever present in this, but the characterizations come first, because without these characters, the narrative is just not that interesting, and this show knows it. So as of now, they are 3 for 3 every single week. The fascinating character dynamics continue to impress and continue to change, and the balance of power continues to shift. These pieces on a chessboard continue to move in very unpredictable ways. This show has crafted the narrative where each decision made by each character feels so weighty, and that it could have massive repercussions on the ongoing story, and they've achieved that in just these 3 episodes, because with every decision we've seen consequences. With every character choice, we've seen how it affects the wider world around them. We've seen alliances shift, we've seen relationships broken apart, and it has made this show fascinating television to watch, where every single moment has kind of become overall unpredictable. But that's just what I thought of this week's House of the Dragon episode. I need you to let me know what you thought and what you think happens next. I cannot wait to discuss all of this with you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining me each week if you are doing so. And if not, there's a playlist right here for you to get caught up. I hope to see you in the next one. And big thanks to my channel members for always supporting this channel. And so until the next one, love each other and love the movies.